Obama plan work in a timely manner? Joining me now, investigative journalist and Daily Ledger contributor Kimberly Dvorak. Kimberly, one of the things that's missing in this whole equation appears to those of us who are paying attention is exactly what does victory look like?
Well, I mean, I think it determines, what our vision is in it, and I think we need to go back to the beginning of that and actually ask ourselves the question, is this a national security interest? I mean, should we go to war with ISIS? And if that's the question, and it's yes, then we need to send the Marines. But if not, instead of arming the rebels and going through this other process, this is a regional fight. This is something where the local countries there need to get together and decide that they need to go after ISIS. And if that's the case, we've supplied them already with hundreds of billions of dollars in weaponry over the past several years. They have the weapons they need if they want to fight it. And then if you look at that and take that one step further, last month we were already over in Jordan with a 20-nation coalition running a military exercise called Eager Lion, and it was to train these guys and to all work together to fight a group like an ISIS. So they're already there. Where'd they go? And then you look at this and you think that there are no demonstrations out there. You do not see these Middle Eastern countries with people going, get rid of ISIS, because as we know, they just simply agree with a lot of their, it's a Sharia law issue. They all agree with that. And again, when you're looking at YouTube, that might have been too grisly for them, but the bottom line is they actually agree with them in what they're doing here.
But haven't we been here before? In Iraq, the United States comes in there, sweeps in, gets rid of Saddam Hussein, and then trains the Iraqi forces. And then we saw what happened against ISIL. ISIL certainly wasn't more well-equipped than the Iraqi military. And then the situation we're dealing with right now in Afghanistan, we're supposedly going to hold off the Taliban by training troops there. There has to be a will to get rid of these people, and I really wonder if there is a will, and to align yourself with so-called moderate rebels in Syria, and the notion of plucking them out of Syria, taking them to Saudi Arabia, and training them for a year or longer, and then sending them back to Syria to fight a war. It seems to me is crazy.
Yeah, well, you have to look at Libya as a great example. This is what the Middle East people are looking. They're like, okay, great. The latest addition is Libya and Yemen, the countries are collapsed. And they're saying, you know what, I think we're good. We don't need the U.S. support to come in and do this. And exactly how are we going to vet these moderate rebels that we all keep talking about? You have to remember that we gave the Iraqi army 280,000 we trained. We spent $20 billion. And what did we get for that? They turned around and ran. But somehow 5,000 so-called moderate rebels are going to take the fight to ISIS and forget about their war in the meantime with the president of that country, the elected president of that country.
Right, and that's what John McCain is pointing out, is that they don't have a beef with the Islamic State, these so-called moderate rebels in Syria. They have a beef with Bashar al-Assad. And I want you to take a look at a picture. It was shot by, this is a still frame from Syrian television, and over the gentleman with the beard, his left shoulder, is the Islamic State flag. And you'll see below there it says, "We've received some aid." There was a caption in English talking about receiving aid from the United States. So there is a so-called moderate Syrian rebel standing next to the Islamic flag saying that he's receiving aid from the United States. Once again, this is a half-baked idea.
Yeah, well, this is the leader of the moderate rebels again. This is who John McCain went over and had meetings with. This is presumably who we are going to be providing even more weapons, because as we heard this weekend on 60 Minutes from Leon Panetta, let's get over this myth that the United States was not trafficking weapons in Benghazi. They were. And these moderates have some of those weapons, and those weapons are killing Muslims, ethnic minorities, and Christians. The fact that John McCain can get out there and say that we need to support guys like this, I mean, picture tells 1,000 words. He's saying he's been receiving training and money and weapons for months, if not years.
Right.
So where did that come from? Where did that come from? Why do we need 500 more million to go in here?
You zoom out and you look at the Obama foreign policy as it pertains to the Middle East. It's a disaster, and the Arab countries, North Africa included, it's an absolute disaster. And we're chasing our tail.
We are.
And we really need to do some self-examination here as a nation in terms of national security as it pertains to the Middle East, and figure out what our policy is going to be and stick with it. But clearly the current policy, and that goes back to the Bush era as well, is not working.
Exactly. And let's just end on this note. As of this week, this country is in debt, $17.5 trillion. And China is working furiously behind the scenes to take the United States out of the market and replace it with a different reserve currency. And if that happens, it would be catastrophic. The inflation rate in this country would be catastrophic. And they're laughing all the way to the bank, and we really need to set our sights on what this country needs to focus on. And I'm assuming it's not the Middle East.
Yeah, and Obama, clearly, this is just a distraction for him as he continues to unfold his radical domestic agenda. All right, Kimberly, thanks.
Thank you.
Coming up.